While you find back what you were thinking about, I saw this article in The Guardian, and there's lots of requests for me to talk about it. So maybe we can hear what Alze talks about it and thinks about it. And I will also give you my idea about it. So The Guardian today published an article that says first modern Britons had dark to black skin. Cheddar Man DNA analysis reveals the genome of Cheddar Man, who lived 10,000 years ago, suggests that he had blue eyes, dark skin, and dark curly hair. And the Guardian was very happy to put a picture of a kind of wax reconstitution of this man who is extremely black, and they claim that it's one of the first Britain, or he was among a group that first colonized Britain 10,000 years ago. And people have asked me, is this bullshit, JF, or is this propaganda? It's clear that there's lots of things in the article that shows really leftist propaganda. Like they quote archaeologists and computational biologists saying stuff like, it really shows up that these imaginary racial categories that we have, really very modern constructions or very recent constructions that really are not applicable to the past at all. And so it's clearly an assault on race, but through archaeology and through a reconstitution of one genome of DNA of a man who we found in Britain. So I would say the article does not disclose the true findings of the scientists. They say that they had access to the information before the findings are published, and that it will be published in a Channel 4 documentary. So I'll say it's very early right now to say this is reliable or this is not reliable. I will also point out that while they claim that the man of 10,000 years ago, the Cheddar Man, as they call it, was black, they seem to have genetic analysis that points that he was Middle Eastern. And so before we see the study, it would be very safe to assume that there is still a possibility that this man was not as black as they have pictured him to be. The third thing I will say is also, they point out, this group of people who were there in Cheddar, they are only the ancestor of 10% of today's white British. So I will say, be very careful about this article. It doesn't show that all of the British people today that are white have a black descendant. We're talking about 10% of white British who could descend from a man who could have Middle Eastern genes. I think that the article overmakes the case for this. Andy, why are you laughing?
I'm always looking for questions, always looking through the chat, and I just see all these people chatting about your hair. And I click over to your hair, and do you have like a man bun now?
A what?
A man. Look at your hair. Look at the video.
Those are my.
So those are talking. I'm trying to pay attention. I'm just like.
No, but I like it that often I would scream like this, but sometimes I do like, hop, here are my hair.
I just wasn't going to say something. I figured you wanted it that way.
It actually, I shouldn't have said shit. That hair was fucking awesome. Ian Murphy just threw $200.
Holy shit.
To say JF has nice white skin.
That's nice of him.
There you go. There you go. Oh my God.
Who said there wasn't any caring people on the alt-right?
Yeah.
But I'd actually like to comment. I'd actually like to comment on that article in The Guardian.
I should just say one thing, because the chat's asking for new people who have just showed up. First of all, hit like and help support the show. And secondly, people are saying bring Mike Enoch on. I was reading how to pronounce it. Thank you all for helping me. Mike Enoch, again, is busy today. However, if you came for Blood Sports in 15 minutes, we have Nick Fuentes, who him and Halsey has actually had a little bit of beef in the past few days. So in 15 minutes, we'll keep talking about this article. And I already sent him the link, so he'll pop in and
cool.
and we'll
Every
we'll have
time you
some
say
boys.
hit like, every time you say hit like, I always think, oh my God, he's gonna say Hitler.
That's what I keep thinking. I actually keep thinking it
And I'm
myself.
like, no, Andy is becoming an extremist. And I'm like, oh no, he's just
No.
talking about the like button.
That song by Ken Ashcorp. So this guy, he's just like a big singer on YouTube. He's fucking awesome, but he made a song about Adam Warski, that meme, and he called me. There's one line where he calls me Hitler on steroids. My dad was like, Jesus, but he found it funny. Anyway,
All right,
yeah.
so
Sorry,
I also wanted to talk about the article on The Guardian.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, the idea that anybody 10,000 years ago is the forefather of anybody today just needs to look at Egypt. I mean, they're all Arabs now. So to say that they're all Kangs, you know what I'm saying, from back in the day is just silly. So this article is probably just as silly because there's no representative sample. There's one guy they found that they're now claiming is the missing link. So do I think that Britons were all Middle Eastern or Black or anything? I don't think there was any settlement at that point. So you can't sit here and be like, oh yeah, they're all Britons are descended from this one guy.
Yeah, definitely. And I would point out there can be people who lose themselves, who are in small groups. They end up dying at some place, but that doesn't mean that they are part of the population that led to whoever is here today, as you point out. And in fact, the We Was King theory, I've been reading about this recently. And it does seem that DNA evidence currently points to the people who were pharaohs and the people, especially after the great empire of Egypt, like 500 years before Christ. It seems that in Egypt, they were much closer to Caucasians than we tend to think.
Yeah, I mean, there's folklore about Ireland with Jews. So I mean, it's who knows what to believe anymore. The only evidence for it is the foundation stone in Britain. So you know, or no, I think it's called the coronation stone. I'm sorry. It's like the stone that every king from Scotland, Ireland, and England was sworn in on since like the time of Christ. And they say that's because during the destruction of Jerusalem, a scribe named, I think it was Baruch, made it to Ireland with a woman that was a descendant of Solomon, and she married into the royal family in Ireland at the time, whatever the biggest clan was, and that the descendants are all part of this, and that she brought this stone that all the kings in Jerusalem were sworn in on, which still exists today. It's in Westminster Abbey.
And a new meme straight from the Warski ghetto, we was Cheddar.
That's a good one.
or as a particular archaeologist may say, we was trees and shit.
We was Cheddar and Brie.